Listen!
Welcome to Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's Nintendo podcast. My name is Philip Mewson, and today I'm joined by Per Schneider.
What's up?
Casey DeFreitas.
Hello.
And Zach Ryan.
Greets.
What's going on, everyone? How's your week going?
I'm so tired. I only
Yeah.
got like 2 hours of sleep because the pooch is sick.
I'm sorry.
Just sick.
Yeah, I had to wake up a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. What happened with the pooch?
She stepped in a gopher hole and broke her ankle.
Damn those gopher holes.
Yeah, she was in surgery for 4.5 hours. That poor thing.
too long for
Yeah.
a
Now her
That's
leg.
horrible,
Too much
right?
surgery for a dog.
She slept through it. I have it on good authority.
Now her leg is half robot.
I would hope. I
She's
would
got a
hope
giant like Terminator arm leg brace on her leg, and she's not allowed to move much and stuff.
Par-
And she has the cone of shame, the
They
extra
showed me
long
an X-ray of like all the pins that are screwed into. It's awful. It's so awful. I feel so bad. For
It's
you.
awful now. It'll be better
What's your
for
dog's
her. Midna.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yes.
Aw.
Yeah, sweet Midna.
Well, welcome to our weekly Nintendo show, everybody.
Anyway, enough dogs.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Dark Horse Comics and Nintendo just released a Legend of Zelda encyclopedia, and we actually have it right here. I'm going to show it
It's
to
so
you guys.
beautiful.
I'm super excited. It looks exactly like the NES cartridge
backwards.
from back in the day. Yeah,
There you
it's
go.
totally backwards.
Take it out.
There you go.
Take it
Yeah,
out of
and
the
then
thing.
Complete
out.
with the like
Da-da-da-da.
mockle like gold stuff.
It's crazy as
Yeah.
all the pages are made of gold too.
That's
a
not
very
true.
expensive
That's not
book.
true.
Yeah, I really love this thing. It comes with like a giant instruction manual too that looks just like
Oh,
the one
that's awesome.
from the game.
Yeah, that's
but it's
really
an
cool.
instruction manual for the encyclopedia, which is hilarious. But this book is so cool. Like if you're a Zelda fan, I highly recommend getting this. It's got like a ton of developer notes in there
Yeah.
and concept sketches that people have never seen before. They're just really hard to find. And one interesting fact, probably one of my favorite facts that I found in this book, is that the main intro to Zelda was actually
just out of
supposed to
reach.
be. I'm sorry. You
No. Thank you.
But the intro to Zelda, the theme to Zelda, was actually supposed to be the smash hit of the 1870s Bolero. Have you guys heard
yeah.
this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Which, if you look it up, and you totally should after the podcast. It sounds a lot like the actual main theme, but Nintendo was apparently afraid because the copyright wasn't expiring until a month after Zelda was released.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I
so-
figured that'd be long gone.
Yeah, I know.
Ravel or something, right?
You're right, exactly.
Yeah.
But they ended up rewriting the main theme overnight, which is
That's so cool.
crazy.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, just I bought one and I leafed through it. I haven't sunk a lot of time into it, but I love all the they clipped out very clean versions of like sprite and
Yeah.
character art. They have like comparisons of enemies across all the different games. Like I'm liking it much more than the Hyrule Historia book before
Yeah.
that.
Damn it!
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've bought Hyrule Historia.
Yep.
I've bought Art and Artifacts, and I
gotta get
convinced
this one.
myself that I wasn't going to buy this one, and now I'm looking at it and I
It is
have to
so
buy
beautiful.
this.
It's
really
too
nice.
nice.
What does it run?
And it has it wasn't
like
much, like 40?
$47.99.
That's a
something
steal
like that.
and
Yeah.
solid gold.
And that's
Really?
for the deluxe edition.
You
yeah,
can melt it
the
down. if you
resale
have to.
values through the roof.
it's insane.
It has texture.
It
It's
has,
very heavy.
By the way, it has the timeline summary in it too, just like
It's an
Historia.
updated timeline
Yeah, it's
too,
better
right?
now.
Yep.
It's a different timeline. I mean, the timeline doesn't matter, but sure.
But it doesn't have it's not like this is up to date to Breath of the Wild because this
No.
is translated from a Japanese book.
Right. That's my biggest
It
gripe
doesn't
with
have
it.
Breath of the Wild in there.
No.
It doesn't have Breath of the Wild. Yeah, but there is.
That's the most important part.
I know. It is for a lot of people, but there is a separate Breath of the Wild book that's coming out in the fall.
Of course.
Which is going to be, I guess, the
Another
fourth
50
entry.
bucks.
It's gonna
Dark
be
Horse.
it's gonna be the Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia DLC.
Nice. But that's out now. You can pick it up on Amazon. I highly recommend you pick it up if you are a Zelda fan because it's going to school you on your Zelda knowledge.
With
Awesome.
330 pages.
Yes, over 330 pages.
Oh man.
But yeah,
I can't believe I'm going to spend $50 more on that. Like,
You totally can.
yeah,
That's
ridiculous.
like 2 coffees in San Francisco. Right? Like if you hadn't had that, you would have.
This coffee
half the
cost
book.
me. This coffee did cost me $25. So
That's not true.
yeah, it is.
all right. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this show. We're going to try
I
and
prefer to talk about this coffee.
we're going to try and squeeze it all in. Sakurai is back in the news with lots of Smash stuff. He was talking to Famitsu, and we got some juicy little nuggets of information that are pretty interesting, and I'm excited to share it with you guys. Reggie is also in the news again, talking about some possible improvements to the Nintendo Switch eShop. We're going to run down that. Mario Kart is now compatible with Nintendo Labo, so we'll be talking about our impressions there, and a whole bunch of stuff that we haven't had, or that we didn't have a chance to talk about during last week's episode, like Fortnite and Paladins, which I know we're all playing. I know Zach and I are playing like the crap out of Fortnite. Yeah. It's great. And then, of course, Wolfenstein 2 comes out Friday, which is tomorrow if you're watching live, or today if you're watching on YouTube.
I love this time travel that he has to do every time he talks about it.
He has to contort
It
himself.
might be
a
out
little
right
bit.
now, but also maybe yesterday. It could be coming out tomorrow.
You're visiting from the future.
We'll see. I mean, if
If you're a Terminator, you already own this game.
we're also going to have Dan Stapleton come on for the second half of the show to talk about his review for the Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle Donkey Kong Adventure DLC, which I've been playing a little bit of. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check
I've
that out.
not dabbled.
No,
Yeah.
but I will.
Yeah, you definitely should.
That
It's
trailer
great.
at E3 was really cool.
It was great.
Yeah, I honestly, it could be like a sequel to the game. The single
that
player.
long?
It's so long. It's like
Machi,
10
machi.
hours
Oh,
long.
wow.
Yeah.
It's challenging, right?
Yeah, it's challenging. It's
Oh,
not
you don't say.
not as challenging as the original game is.
Really? I
Yeah.
figured it'd be harder.
No, because Donkey Kong is so OP, man. You can like pick stuff up.
Too strong. Too many muscles.
Yeah,
No,
it's
keep
crazy.
muscles.
But we'll get into all that stuff a little later. Let's
you,
jump
Doge.
back over to the first bit of news, which I think we definitely have to address, and that is that yesterday, Kimishima finished off his presidency as the president of Nintendo, and we now officially have a new president, and we spoke about this a couple episodes ago. Shintaro Furukawa is now the 6th president of Nintendo.
Perhaps a polite round of golf clapping is in order.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome, Mr. Furukawa. It's a pleasure to have you here.
They were prepping for it for a while, right? Like we
Yeah.
saw Kimishima at E3, but he was not in any kind of outward-facing like press
So
and
yeah,
live stuff.
I
and-
commented on that last week about how odd I thought it was that Kimishima wasn't there, and then sort of in hindsight, it's like, well, if this new guy is right around the corner from taking over, it absolutely makes sense that they would not necessarily face him out, but not make him like front and center.
Yeah,
which he never was in the first place.
We saw Mr. Kimishima at the Nintendo booth.
We
You guys
did.
gave a good
He
wave.
was behind the he was waving goodbye.
Such a cool dude. I mean, we didn't actually speak with him.
He's so cool. He was wearing a sideways hat and he did a kickflip right into the old show floor.
dude. So
He had a
young.
skateboard.
Yeah.
No, but it just seems like a really nice, laid-back guy. Love to meet him someday if I ever get a chance. But I'm really excited about Mr. Furukawa as well. I think he's got a lot to offer, especially with his background in marketing. He's a little bit of a younger guy as well.
Curious if we see some of that quirkiness from him that we associate with Nintendo Directs of the past, right?
That's
if
right.
he can bring some of that back. Really
And
looking forward to that.
he's also bilingual, right? He can speak English.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Nintendo specifically talked a lot about in his introduction that this is the first president of Nintendo that grew up on Nintendo games, and I think that's part of like his platform, or at least their marketing for him. And I'm really excited to see what that means for a Nintendo presidency. You know, like obviously each of these presidents has had a working knowledge of Nintendo's games and stuff, but this is the first person that has Nintendo running through their blood, like like what we do, like growing up on these games.
Plus,
Yeah.
he worked for Nintendo in Germany as well, right? Like,
Yes.
So we'll
so
talk
you know.
about currywurst. Yeah, I know everybody. I don't know the German national soccer team anymore, though, after that performance. But no, I'm looking forward.
You're throwing shade.
Some salt over there
Unbelievable.
going on.
I don't know. Yeah, we're not going to talk about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too soon. Yeah.
Ask them to settle it in Smash.
Yeah, that's good.
And Andre says go Mexico.
You know what?
Andre, our NVC
I kind of
producer.
have to side with Belgium now because it's basically just the German flag turned on its side. So we'll do that one next. But Mexico, yeah.
I heard Japan did some crazy stuff this morning.
Yeah, lose.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just heard the entire production crew in the back just
I
laugh
was
out
gonna
loud.
swear. Yeah.
Lose.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Casey, you were making a great segue. Thank you for that. Sakurai has been talking about Smash Brothers yet again with a recent interview he did with Famitsu. It's actually part 2 of the epic 2-part interview that he conducted with Famitsu. And Source Gaming went ahead and translated that. So thank you very much, Source Gaming. So it's a kind of a lengthy interview, but there are some pieces of information there that I think are pretty interesting, and I'd love to discuss it with you guys. Sure. So here's an exact quote, and remember, this is translated, so there might be some translations going on. But Sakurai's quote is, "Being able to include every fighter is a real luxury, and knowing that opportunity doesn't knock twice, I seized the moment and twisted some arms to make this dream a reality. Thankfully, the folks at Nintendo agreed to help, despite the risks involved. I was faced with a decision: create a completely new game system or build off a pre-existing one. I went with the latter. Had I not, we might have ended up with only a third of the fighters we have now. Some people might still end up preferring an earlier title, but I decided to put that thought aside for later and focus on the more important tasks ahead, or at hand."
You're telling me that they were going to release a fighting game with only 21 characters? Inexcusable.
Yeah, right.
But I bet they had a lot of those discussions behind closed doors where they said, hey, should we reboot Smash Brothers at this point, right? Because Breath of the Wild was such a departure from the traditional Zelda games. Maybe they thought about making Smash Brothers 2.5D or 3D or different in some other fashion. And I mean, I think wisely decided not to do that. I feel like fighting games is very, very difficult to reboot them and change them completely because there is such a fervent following and people want to see an expansion rather than something that's a reboot.
Can you think of a fighting game franchise that's gone through like a full reboot?
Well, Street Fighter did make the transition to 3D, but not
What,
really.
talking about with like Street Fighter Alpha and things like that? Like,
Marvel vs. Capcom also had a pretty big reboot.
But they all,
for Ultimate?
yeah.
Yeah.
but they don't.
Or I guess it would be what was the newest one? Was it Ultimate? Marvel vs.
I think
Capcom
it
Ultimate?
was, yeah.
Yeah.
Few games ever radically changed in that genre, right? Like it's not like suddenly a game goes full Power Stone or something.
I wish a game would go
we-
full Power Stone.
We need a new. Power Stone.
This kind of, last week I talked about Super Smash Brothers kind of feeling like a greatest hits. And I felt, to me, like reading this interview, like it seemed like this sort of reinforced that idea. Rather than start from the ground up and build something completely new, they are relying on previously proven like concepts. So it definitely seems to me like there was a lot of talk when Smash Brothers was originally announced, like, is this going to be a completely new Smash Brothers or is this going to be something that we've seen before? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of both.
You play a lot of Smash, right?
I love Smash.
How do you feel
and,
about that?
I am totally into it. I feel like I would be upset if I went into it and it played entirely differently from how I've gotten used to. Because I've put thousands of hours into Smash Bros. And developing that muscle memory and knowing how to play. And if they had just taken that away from me, I think I would have been upset. And I think a lot of other people, especially those in the fighting game community, would have felt the same way. And it seems like Nintendo is going to try and put more effort into esports, like from how much effort they put into that Smash tournament at E3, for example. So it makes sense for them to put out a game that feels very similar to previous games. And he actually said that there are a lot of people on the team for Ultimate worked on previous Smash Brothers as well. But it's such a big game, they needed hundreds of people to work on it. So there's still new people who have their eyes on the series as well. So I think it's a good balance, and I hope that they I hope that they add the ability to grab with the RZ button again, because that was not there at the E3 demo.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Are you team Pro Controller or team GameCube
GameCube.
controller? Okay, yeah.
Well, then that's the thing, because the GameCube controller.
That was so dismissive.
No, sorry,
GameCube.
Tom. Yeah.
Well, the GameCube controller only has a Z button on the right. So why would they make it only on the left
yeah.
in that demo?
Meanness.
Yeah.
just to keep you on your toes.
It'll be configurable for sure.
No, it's I know. I'm being facetious. It's totally fine.
What was what was the thing that got you most excited about all the Smash Brothers announcements out of E3?
Just that all of the characters are going to be there again.
Was that like really the big draw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that is the biggest draw of this
Is it
game.
because you main Solid Snake?
Well, I mean Pikachu, so I guess they would never take Pikachu away from me.
Right.
I
but-
did not expect Snake.
no, I didn't.
No
either.
one expects Snake.
In this in this interview, Sakurai did mention that Nintendo approached him about creating Super Smash Bros. Ultimate or Super Smash Bros. For Switch in the middle or towards the end actually of the completion of Smash 4 DLC. So like like that's sort of where he was talking about like, well, we had an opportunity or we had a decision to make whether we should make a new game or create off the existing platform. So I think his mentality with this Smash was just let's make a sort of greatest hits or all the hits essentially and bring back every character and every stage and everything. So there isn't really too much new going on, but it's got everything that we've ever loved about Smash right here with some tweaks to the gameplay.
Which is different from Nintendo's messaging, right? Like some people said like, hey, is this just a greatest hits re-release? They're like, no, it's a completely new game, right? Like we're getting kind of like the clash of viewpoints here, but I'm assuming a lot of the underlying engine and, probably the netcode is going to be completely new. It obviously adds 8-player battles in places that we weren't able to do them before. So there will be, I think, a lot of fresh stuff for people, and then you will have matchups that you never had before in any of the previous games, like brand new characters fighting against the Ice Climbers, and just that dynamic, I think, will feel really fresh.
Yeah. But I seriously do believe that this is the last time we'll get a Smash game with all the characters in it, because he said, like in that interview, that to expect all the characters to come back and then have 20 new characters is just unrealistic from a development standpoint because of all the balancing that needs to be done, all the tweaks that needs to be done. It just doesn't make sense for them to do that.
But if it was DLC, like what if there isn't another Smash for Switch and all they do is update the game with DLC?
I'd be fine with that.
I would be fine with that as well.
Totally cool.
Keep it alive.
As long as their patch notes are better than previous generations, I feel like, But
what was it? They were
So I think historically, I haven't been a real Smashman since Melee on GameCube, but maybe you can speak to this a little bit. But what I've heard from the community is like the Smash patch notes were always like improved fixes and mechanics,
balance,
and then you'd have to go through and figure out what changes were made to characters, like which characters, and it would just take forever to figure out like, oh, this is different and this is different. So like that's the only thing that
don't people love that?
If they're gonna patch the game, I want just a little more, just be a little more forthcoming with what they're changing. So do we have time for Casey to tell the story about playing Smash in Japan with Joe?
Oh, yes. Okay, I want to hear that.
So
this is like one of my favorite stories.
I went to Osaka with Joe Scrubbles to cover a Monster World
from our
review.
UK team.
Yeah, and we went to a video game bar after doing preview stuff, and I just sat down with some other dudes from the UK that we didn't know who were playing Smash at a bar. And I sat down and I played and I proceeded to destroy them all for the next hour. And Joe just had a huge laugh about it and couldn't get over how they reacted to me.
When Joe told me the story,
he's much better.
He was like, Casey walked over and was like, can I play Smash with you guys? And they were like, okay. And then Casey just proceeded to just wipe the floor with them for like 3 hours. So, that was very telling.
A crowd formed and everybody was like outside and
Disclaimer, I'm not a pro player. I just know how to play.
No, but in Joe's defense, I've played against you and you're really good.
Thanks,
so,
guys.
yes. I mean, it's no joke.
I'm hoping. So when I first started at IGN, we were coming sort of hot off the heels of Smash on Wii U because I started in December of 2014, and Kevin Coelho was still here. You might know him as Kind of Funny Kevin, and 4:45 on the dot, he would make the rounds to everyone's desk. Like, you want to play Smash? You want to play Smash? And you'd get a group together in the demo room, and we'd end up playing Smash for a couple hours, a few times a week. And I'm really hoping that that happens again this summer.
I will make that happen.
In the
I'm
same
so
way that
excited for it.
one of the things that I loved about Mario Kart launching for the Switch was everyone in our office, well, not everyone, but a lot of people in our office have a Switch. And the thing about Mario Kart is you'd see people pop up over the desk and be like,
yep.
And you just connect and start playing with each other. So I feel like there will probably be a lot of work not getting done in December.
We should bring Kevin. First of all, shout out to the Kind of Funny prom, but we should get Kevin back in here when we get this game.
Yeah. I played Fortnite with him a couple nights ago. He's terrible.
All right, well, we got to move forward. Let's go ahead and move on to Reggie talking about improving the eShop. So Waypoint actually conducted an interview with Reggie, who is the president of NOA, Nintendo of America.
Never heard of him.
Shout out to Reggie.
I believe it's pronounced Reggie.
Yeah.
Reggie? Oh, okay. Yeah. They discussed essentially how easy it is to miss eShop titles that aren't on the best-selling list or that didn't just come out.
Yeah.
And so before I jump into this whole thing, I want to address a question to the chat and start a poll if we can. Do you guys think that the Switch's eShop needs a overhaul? Like, do we need to have a better way to find games, an improved search function, different filters? I kind of like how it works on like Vita, or not Vita, Jesus, PS4, where you can kind of like look by categories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I
It's
mean,
funny. I was just gonna say I hate the search on PS4 in the PlayStation Store. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why, but it
I-
doesn't
It's
feel.
not bad.
Yeah. I don't know. The UI to me just seems sort of unintuitive. The way you have to go like letter by letter to find stuff.
Oh. Well, the
that
search
really drives me nuts.
is-
Yeah.
I actually like the snappiness and the kind of like the lack of bells and whistles in the eShop. Like it's just very fast and simple. And when they added the great deals section, at least you found yet another way to discover games. I actually don't mind it. The only thing that happens is recent releases is helpful until suddenly there's a week with 30 games.
Sure.
And then, every game is just kind of created equal and you have a featured section, but that's not always updated right away. And so like a big game like, an important game like Luminous comes out and you have to drill down for it. It's not in the featured section.
So
that's why
know?
there needs to be like a puzzles section and RPGs and
Yeah.
action games.
Well, don't
and all that stuff.
like not all games are created equal. It's okay for Nintendo to have an opinion on what needs more prominence in its storefront, and I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to curate like important big new games or highly rated new games at the time.
Luminous not being on there, that's weird because it was there a couple days ago when I purchased it. One thing that I thought about when I was reading this is like, I've never had an issue with the eShop, but I think it's because of how plugged in we are here at IGN. Like if mostly it's Philip telling me like, hey, this game is out and it's really good, you should check it out. And if that's the case, it's usually right on the front page. Like I've rarely had to really dig deep to find anything on the eShop.
Yep.
So I don't really have an opinion on whether or not it needs an overhaul. But it sounds to me like you guys have, like there definitely needs to be some sort of change. So.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that it needs an overhaul, but to like what you were saying, essentially, I feel like a lot of people don't check the eShop every day. I'm somebody who does, but like,
And thank you for that, because I've got some hot tips. So.
Right, exactly. But I mean, if you don't check it, like let's say if you're away from it for 2 weeks, you might miss some some really
absolutely.
good games,
Yeah.
and then they'll just be totally off your radar because the recently released games just keeps filling up. I mean, games are coming out quicker than ever now on Switch. I was busy working on the Wolfenstein 2 review all week today, and I feel like all week this week, and I feel like I've
Time travel again.
I know.
A whole week in a day.
And I feel like I missed like every single release this week, or almost every single release. Like there's so many new games I'm excited to check out. Yeah. So I really hope that Nintendo does something to just make it a little bit easier to sort of highlight or spotlight some games that have been doing well, even if they're a little bit older. Like SteamWorld Dig 2 is impossible to find now.
Yep. No, I'm sure, once user ratings go into effect in a meaningful way, that can help with discovery. And if they tie that to genres so that when you played a game you love, that it recommends other games like it.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I would love to have that feature where they can see all of your games in your library and say, based on your library, you should check out these games.
Totally.
Necroman in the comments actually has a really good point, and I totally agree. He says they need to add a rating system and being able to search for best rated games. I totally think that's necessary. Yeah.
Or to Casey's point, like jumping off of that, allow you to rate stuff like Netflix does, and then like based on like what rating you give 7 or 8 games, there's an algorithm that tells you, oh, then you might like this.
Affinity data.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I like that movie Affinity War. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah?
Cyber in the chat also says, personally, I don't think so. The thing they have to improve is the news stuff, which is the way to show games. You know how like Nintendo has the Switch has a news tab now? That's a really great idea. And it works very well, but I feel like a lot of people just quickly overlook it. They're just jumping into games right away.
The news tab, like when you pop open your Switch, come on, there you go. The featured news tab is less about new releases and more so about like a new trailer for an upcoming game or like Nintendo news or something like that. So it doesn't really it doesn't really skew towards releases. So I kind of agree.
I ruined my newsfeed because I have a European and an American and a Japanese account.
Yeah.
And so it's like the same story like 3 times.
There's just so much Mario Tennis on your homepage.
It's all Mario Tennis.
There are no other games.
Yeah.
And it's forever.
Last
Enjoy that
comment too before I show the poll results. Nav the Conqueror said one feature that the eShop has that the PSN store needs is the ability to add games to a wish list. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one thing that Nintendo has on
the
PS.
upcoming section. Yep.
Yeah, I really like that a lot. I used to use it a lot too. So the poll has ended, and 84% of you guys say that the Switch's eShop does need an overhaul. So
All right,
we're all in agreement
We'll
here.
work on that.
Yeah.
We should update our top 25 Switch games. Maybe we should do a top 25 downloadable. Every game is downloadable nowadays.
Well, Nintendo has 2 different sections for that,
we
like
just do
best-selling
that in the
digital
spring?
games.
Have you seen how many new games came out? Like
We did, yeah.
one right after SteamWorld Dig 2, and now like freaking like Limbo and Inside and all those games are out, and Luminous, and
Yeah,
that list is going to be so different.
it's always going to be changing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
So let's jump on over to Nintendo Labo now being compatible with Mario Kart. And it's compatible with this thing right
Don't
here.
give me that look.
Excuse me for one second.
Yeah, I was going to say where is it? I thought we had the.
there
you
you
go.
go.
Here it is. We were actually playing it just before we went on. Per and I, and Zach too, actually got a chance to play. And I think it feels great. It's a lot of fun. So obviously you stick the Switch inside of here, just like you would if you're using the Toy-Con handlebars with Labo. And to go, you just turn the little handlebar here, and it has
Like
all
a
the same-
motorcycle.
like a motorcycle. You get to
You
play
can
like
pick
a big
the
boy.
bikes in Mario Kart. That's what we did.
But it's really cool. Like it totally feels like it has that nice HD rumble in the handlebars that you feel when you're playing the Toy-Con Garage. I love that smile you're giving me right now.
I used to own a motorcycle. And it's the different. It's indiscernible. Like it's a 1-to-1
Right?
comparison.
Exactly.
Yeah, that HD rumble is really something.
Full out of body experience.
Don't need to risk your life driving a motorcycle. Just get
That's
Nintendo
absolutely
Labo.
true.
for
I
the
mean,
same
period. You don't
exact
need to risk your life
experience.
driving a motorcycle. Period.
It's not something that you need to go out and buy Labo for to play Mario Kart with, but it's like if you have it, give it a shot. I think it works a lot better than it does with like motion steering with like a little plastic
I mean, it's
steering wheel.
totally a nice to have thing, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a cool little
If
toy.
I had it, I'd throw my Switch in there and play a few rounds. But I also never elect to ride the motorcycle in Mario Kart. Like I always choose different
and you
carts.
wouldn't
Yeah.
use the steering wheel.
Can you-
I
either,
hate
right?
the
You
steering
don't do
wheel.
tilt control.
I hate the steering
Can you
wheel.
use that with the cars?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. With
There you go.
with the bikes, you have that additional tilt, and it feels a little bit more natural.
can you pop a wheelie
Yeah,
on
you
it?
might just have some
Sweet.
dissonance going on because you're driving like a motorcycle, but
I don't know.
Yeah, it's-
in a car.
well,
yeah,
that
I
was
mean,
the question. Like, how do you throw a turtle shell behind you? Like,
Right.
you got to tilt and then hit the little button. Yeah, I will say these buttons are not
They're a little
as
hinky,
responsive
yeah.
as the.
No.
But it's a
It's
fun
fun.
little
Don't-
novelty.
Yeah, don't enter any like Mario Kart competitions with.
I'll
with the
put it
Labo.
this
They're
way.
gonna laugh at you.
I played one race with it, and I was like, great. Now I know what that feels like. I never have to do that
Make
again.
sure to spam the chat with "I'm using tilt controls." So.
Yeah. Using
But
tilt control.
on the topic of Labo, have you guys heard about this Labo contest that Nintendo's holding? It's
I have not
actually
to win the freaking awesomest Joy-Con that are the color of cardboard.
It's not just the Joy-Con; it's the whole Switch.
I know.
I think we have some images. I don't know if we got them to you guys quick enough. The producers, there it is.
oh man,
that's
I didn't even
awesome.
see the back.
Yeah, it looks awesome. They even laboed out the dock too, so it looks like it's made of cardboard, but
That's so
obviously
cool.
it's still plastic. It's still very much what the Switch is actually made out of. But I mean, look at this; it's so cool. Like
If you're listening to the audio version, it looks very cool.
It looks like cardboard.
so it's a Switch that looks like it's made out of cardboard, essentially.
With the corrugated edge on the back of the dock, which
It's a nice
is
touch,
really
and it
yeah.
has the Nintendo Labo logo on the back of the Switch and on the dock
Yeah.
as well.
It's really neat.
Do you think this is they made this custom like factory wise, or this is a paint job, like it's a system mod?
I think
It's
this is-
probably a
if-
system mod.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Oh, I was
It's
gonna
not
say
a
it's-
factory because there's so many. There's like 5 of them in existence.
okay.
and
Makes
they're
more
just going
sense
to
to
be.
pay some dude
Yeah.
with cardboard spray.
Maybe you're right. I figured since it was like a contest thing that maybe they would do a factory mod, but
Oh, whoever
Yeah.
wins the contest, try and scrape off the paint and let
let
us know how that
what
goes.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're interested in entering the contest too, I'm gonna drop a link in the description so you guys can check it out. It's a really sort of the rules are simple. The contest probably is not easy at all. I probably wouldn't be able to make a Toy-Con garage creation that could win. But essentially, Nintendo just wants you to make a really cool musical instrument that sounds just as good as it looks. So I highly recommend you check that out if you are still playing with Labo and creating your creations, because you might win a really cool exclusive Switch.
Very tempted.
And if you do, call me so we can get you on here.
Also, like
Show off
challenge,
the Switch.
challenge everyone to make an ocarina.
Yeah. Ooh.
oh, there you go.
A cardboard ocarina.
I haven't seen that
It's
yet.
not going to happen, but
That-
I challenge
Can you imagine how gross that would be
Oh.
like, in a week of playing it? Just a
It would
spit
be.
valve. Yeah. Just, Terrible.
Plastic
I like it.
attachment for your cardboard creation.
Nice.
All right, so let's talk about Capcom coming back in the news. So
I always
these
wanna talk
guys,
about Capcom.
you like talking about Capcom?
I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fun. Especially since they released Resident Evil 7 on Switch, which is really cool. Sort of,
And
kind
Mega
of
Man. Come on.
released it on Switch. And Mega Man, of
Have
course.
any of you guys
So much Mega
played
Man this year.
it on the Switch?
I have not.
Resident Evil?
Yeah.
I was able to play a little bit of it until I got disconnected.
Oh.
But
Oh,
There's the
Japan?
rub,
our
yeah.
Japan team.
Our Japan team is closest to the service, and they played it, and they said it runs really nicely.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
works.
like, I have to say, I was such a naysayer last week on the show because it just seems completely like.
It's so
it
unlike
seems
you.
impossible to me. Like you could
so
just
unlike
stream
you.
a game. Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's
that you could
how
just stream
PlayStation-
Resident Evil 7 to. Oh, yeah, but it
So
doesn't.
check
work.
this out.
Yeah, it
Like-
doesn't.
So Capcom is actually looking to expand its cloud streaming services, and they were using.
If Monster Hunter comes out portably on Switch,
Monster Hunter World. So
that's what I'm
Monster
saying.
Hunter- yeah.
Like, I just feel like we might lose Casey forever.
Yeah.
before everyone in the chat
I'd be so excited.
freaks out and
Speculate.
starts thinking that like, oh no, all we're gonna get is cloud games on Switch now. That's not true. Hold your horses. Capcom is sort of experimenting, or they're really considering the idea of expanding their services, and they're using Resident Evil 7 as sort of a test bed to see how well it performs and how many people are interested in it. And obviously, we haven't seen it here on the stateside, and I don't really know how it's doing in Japan. But as word from our Japan team, they said that it does play really well, and there's actually a video of it. There's 2 separate videos of it that we have on the site. You guys should definitely check it out. I'll put those in the description as well. One video is just working off an actual internet connection that is high speed and it runs great.
Hardwired, you mean?
I believe it was hardwired,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other connection is just running off of a iPhone tether wireless
cool.
connection, and it still works.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have a full write up on that too. So I'll make sure to put that in the description. You guys can check it out.
What
but
were you playing
I-
on when
I
you
would
got booted?
say-
Just general Wi-Fi?
just general Wi-Fi here in the office. Yeah.
Hello, I'm General Wi-Fi.
So let me ask a question to the chat. Would you guys be okay with more AAA games showing up on Switch if the only way to get them on Switch was through a cloud service? Like, would this be a future that you'd be okay with, I guess?
You know, I would say that sounds awesome if we were to get Monster Hunter World on the Switch in that way. But the reason it would be appealing on the Switch would be to be able to take it with you places. And if it's streaming, I can't take it to a coffee shop or hiking or whatever weird places I want to go play Monster Hunter.
It also seems to me like if I would stream something like Resident Evil 7 or even Monster Hunter, like I would want a dedicated, like, proven Wi-Fi service. You know what I mean? Not something that you're going to get in a cafe or, you know.
Getting kicked in the middle of a Monster Hunter hunt or raid sucks. It is
Getting
the
kicked in
worst.
any game sucks all the
Yeah.
time. Like I can only imagine
then-
when you've invested the amount of time to like get to a certain objective and then getting booted. But like even playing Resident Evil 7 would not be fun to get knocked out of. Like,
Yeah.
Downsides are clear. It's the internet connection. That's why I think it's better for Phantasy Star Online games like that, like online games, which is running in Japan on cloud.
PSO.
Yeah, PSO is running on cloud in Japan. No, and the other issue is you're renting the game. You don't own it. You can, when it goes away, you can't say, "Hey, I bought that." And in this case, you're literally paying for a rental fee.
Right.
And your storage, your save data is also on rent. If you don't keep on using it, it'll eventually get purged.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's scary.
But well, it's like Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can watch your favorite movie now and might not be there next month. We kind of deal with it.
But I can go
right?
get that movie somewhere else and be like, I was an hour in, and
Yeah,
then
okay.
continue from that
Fair
point.
True. That's actually a really great point. Yeah.
Well, you can buy a PlayStation and buy Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
On Xbox.
And she did.
Yeah, and she did.
You can also get Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, which is coming out for the Nintendo Switch in August,
That's right.
which is not World, but still Monster Hunter.
Or if you played it on 3DS, minus the DX, what is it?
Ultimate?
Tilde dash Ultimate. Okay, there.
the G rank.
I'm interested to see what Monster Hunter World fanatics have to say about Monster Hunter Ultimate on Switch because
I want to run an experiment on everyone else. Everyone I know whose first Monster Hunter was World, I want them to play Generations Ultimate just so I can
it's
see
like
what their
taking a
reaction
step
Yeah.
back, right?
is.
Different.
It has 3 times as much content without the quality of life improvements.
Yeah.
Like that's the most simple way to put it.
And visually,
Visually, I mean, it's a 3DS game that was made into high definition for the Switch.
So one is much more showy. The monsters
Yeah.
can look pretty spectacular, but the other one, there are just a lot of them. So it's like playing Pokemon, right? Like Pokemon is not going to win any graphics awards compared to like God of War or Breath of the Wild or Mario, but there's so much content and so much charm and heart to it.
So we're almost done with the poll. It's still running, about a minute left, but it's pretty clear. Over 50% of our audience is saying, nah, I'm good. Thanks. I don't need any cloud streaming games on Switch.
Interesting.
23% are saying yup, and 27% aren't sure. They're like, meh, depends on the game.
I kind of want a proof of concept, right?
What did you vote, Philip?
I would rather have the games come to Switch and be available on the cloud than not at all.
Yep.
I
like, for
totally
instance,
agree with that.
Like Resident Evil 2 Remake for me is a game that I really want to be on Switch in one way or another. And if cloud streaming is the only way we're going to play it there, I'm okay with that.
So I guess I got a question for you too. Something I'm a little unclear about. For Resident Evil 7 specifically, like what's the graphical fidelity? Are you streaming a high res version of that game, or are you
720p
streaming
version, right?
It's 720p.
But is it dumbed down for the Switch, or is it just
it's being played on other hardware,
Right.
So it runs on the other hardware. It
So
looks
it's like
pristine.
It's like when you play like a PlayStation 4 on a Mac or something.
You're watching a very fast video stream of a game you're playing on another machine.
Okay.
It's like when you use, a Steam app or,
So you're set Black Magic. It's Black Magic.
It is using Black Magic, some of it, yeah.
Space
But
Magic
Black
also.
Magic caps out at 720p,
Ah.
unless you have bat wings.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and move forward because we are quickly running out of
no.
time.
Stop it.
But another topic I wanted to touch on, and I'm really excited to talk about this, is our impressions of Fortnite on Switch. I know we're a little late on this. It's been out for like 2 weeks now.
Thanks for releasing during E3.
I know, right? It's the
Little busy.
craziest time ever. But Zach and I have been playing a ton of Fortnite. I don't know if you got a chance to like play any crossplay like with anyone on.
I'm only
Xbox.
playing versus Switch. That's not Fortnite on the Switch, by the way. Is it?
Yeah, it is.
Is it really, man? That looks a lot better than like. So that's my only knock.
That's Steven's gameplay
Yeah. This is our first 9 minutes of Fortnite.
I think
on the Switch.
Fortnite looks butt on Switch. Like,
Really?
I think it looks butt. Yeah.
You're used to playing.
I play it on PS4.
On PS4.
I think it looks as good as it needs to look. Like you can still see players out really far.
That's what I was gonna say. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
Doesn't
still
look like
totally
butt.
functional.
Like,
Like
the
I
footage
think
looks pretty good.
this looks amazing. Like I'm kind of surprised that this
Are
because
you
like,
holding it backwards or something?
Well, I mean,
Like,
this is
I play my Switch. I play Fortnite like
Does-
this specifically.
does
so-
your Switch say 3DS on the back?
No, I
keep in mind that he's playing docked here.
that's okay. There
yeah,
it is. Yeah. Because I think that this is not maybe an accurate representation of the way that I've been playing the game, just in handheld mode. But man, Fortnite is so freaking good.
It is.
Yeah,
It really
it's
is. Good.
so fun. Yeah.
I'm so happy it's on Switch now. I feel like the Switch really needed this game.
Yeah.
Just to sort of like bring a new audience into it or just make Nintendo fans aware of it because it's such a popular phase that gaming is going through right now with Battle Royale. And to have the most popular Battle Royale game on Switch is just really exciting. And it works great, both docked and undocked if you're playing in handheld mode. It's much better than playing it on a mobile phone. You don't have to worry about touchscreen controls or anything like that. Like nothing beats playing a game with actual physical controls.
When this first got announced, I heard rumors I heard rumors before E3 that Fortnite was going to be announced for the Switch, but it was going to be the mobile version, and that just made my heart sink. I was like,
That
Mobile version is pretty good though.
But Epic doesn't do that. I feel like
no, I'm so glad
also-
that didn't happen. Building in mobile version is incredibly difficult, which completely changes the way you play the game. So I'm glad the Switch got the full version.
Also, Epic, they built this game in the Unreal Engine, which scales so well. So they shrink it all the way down for a mobile version and then blow it up all the way for PC and PlayStation 4 and Xbox. And then this one is somewhere in the middle. I think it's just like a really smart way to build this out. And the game, like you said, it works mostly flawlessly. I've been booted a couple times. It did freeze my Switch pretty hard last night, which was a bummer. I quit out of a match and put my Switch into sleep mode. And then when I got home, it just wouldn't go anywhere. It was just a Fortnite screen. It was just frozen. I couldn't turn it off, and I couldn't go back to the home screen.
Completely frozen?
Completely
like that?
frozen. I had to wait for the battery guy.
Oh, wow.
Which I've never seen. But I have a feeling it's probably due to like shutting off the power, coming off of the Wi-Fi, loading out of the game,
Submerging it in water.
Well, yeah,
briefly.
yeah, that's
Briefly.
right. Yeah.
Briefly.
I punched it a couple of times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm having just a blast with it. And the one thing that the Switch version has over like PS4 or Xbox is that I was playing this in the office the other night with 3 other, like we had squatted up and we were just sitting talking to each other in the room, and it was so awesome. Like it was such a
the
great
best way to play those
experience.
games.
It has another thing over the PlayStation version.
Yeah, this,
Play against Xbox and PC.
that's
players.
true. That's true. Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man.
true.
Yeah.
One thing
But-
that it
And
doesn't.
voice chat with them?
Yes, yeah, you can voice chat, which everyone
That's
was
really cool.
really shocked to hear.
I plugged in my old Apple headphones just on a whim, like thinking this isn't going to work, and it totally worked, and it sounded great, and it
That's
did the
awesome.
job, and yeah, like it was awesome.
So fun fact about the voice chat stuff is that any game can use this feature, like without the mobile phone. Apparently, it's tied to the 5.0 firmware that came out on Switch. And if developers of previous titles like Payday,
Splatoon.
perfect example, or
Yeah.
Splatoon, but that's probably not going to happen. If they were to just update their games to have this feature, then they would. And I know that sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds. It's actually a lot of work to sort of like make the game work on this updated firmware that has all these additional features. But we could start seeing more games using voice chat without a mobile phone in the future, especially if they're working off the latest firmware build that the Switch
That would be
offers.
wonderful.
This is
Yeah.
the benefit of porting. I mean, especially a game on Unreal, porting a game that's appeared on the PC where they wrote their own voice over IP stuff, right? It was already built into the game, and so the resources are already allocated. When they scale it down graphically, they can just plug and play on Switch. I'm sure a little bit more work went into it, but that's, that may be a benefit. Maybe we'll see that in other PC ports and other PC online game ports to the Switch.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's really cool. Obviously, voice chat's only going to be as good as what the developer makes it. So, the ability to kick a player from voice chat or block someone, all of that has to be coded from scratch again.
You're right.
God damn, Steve.
Versus using Nintendo's hot mobile app solution. Where
It's a
Super
bummer.
popular. Yes. So, all right, we are going to talk about Octopath Traveler now because I refuse to keep skipping it, even though we keep running out of time. I keep telling Casey we're going to talk about it this week, and she's really excited about it. We're all really excited about it. But Casey actually had a chance to play. I think you played every character in the prologue demo.
I didn't play every character, but I
She played every single character.
all of them.
You
I
beat
played
the whole game already.
the whole game in 3 hours. It's actually totally possible. You just have
Wow.
to find
I think
a
this
secret
deserves
pathway.
a golf clap.
No, I was able to play 3 characters, and I didn't want to start a new game because your save data actually transfers over to the full game when it
which
comes
is
out.
the best.
Yeah.
I wish every demo did
This is
that.
Yeah.
the best kind of demo.
Yeah.
And it's very open. You pick a character, and the way Octopath Traveler, there's 8 different characters. So you pick one, and you start from their hometown. You go through their first chapter, learn their story, and then you can go wherever you want from there. So you see on an overworld map where all of the other characters are, and you can just be like, I want to try out this person and make your way to them and then play through their first chapter if you decide and add them to your party.
But this demo is a 3-hour time limit. So
Yep.
could you choose to play one character for 3 hours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I picked a character and I had 2 hours left after I finished with her chapter and did everything. So I started with Hanit, the hunter, because that is my class in most RPGs that I choose. And
Isn't that weird how you always do that? Like
yeah.
how you gravitate to one class.
she's a
Yeah.
Beastmaster hunter, and that is my calling. And she plays it's really cool because when you go into a battle with a monster or a creature, you can catch them. And I put them into quotes because that just makes you able to use one of their attacks for a certain number of times. So their attacks get added to your move pool. So
But it's like a disposable item?
pretty much you can basically, but it doesn't cost you anything to use them. You just have a limited number once you catch them, and it makes that character incredibly versatile, which I really love. So you can get to a boss, and if none of your attacks are strong against that boss, you can go and catch some monsters and then test it out and see what works against them. And so I started with her. I went down to Ophilia the Cleric, learned about her, and then I made it all the way down to Cyrus the Scholar, and found out what his deal was as well. And so you can go through all 8 character stories in one save, which is really interesting.
Could you play for 3 hours, delete your stuff, and then play another character
Oh, yeah,
for 3
absolutely.
hours? So you
Yes.
could get cranking on the strategy guide, huh?
Yeah, no, yep.
Oh no.
We've already started. We've already got someone working on it.
So when you download this demo, are you downloading just a portion of the game, or you download the whole game and then the rest of the game unlocks on launch day? Like I'd have to imagine that it's just a portion, but then how does that work when you transfer over? Like
I feel like it has to be just a portion because data miners would have just mined.
Oh,
it.
yeah, you're right.
Save
got
data
it,
is shared. There's
Yeah.
just one save data file for demo and game.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
There
it looks so
are-
cool.
It really does.
It's just I really like. It's crazy that we haven't seen this exact style before. You know, it looks like Romancing Saga mixed with Ogre Battle and
There's like a little bit of like
Square.
Minigawa from
That's what
Vagrant Story.
Yeah.
and,
You know,
and
Final-
Ivalice. Yeah,
Final Fantasy
Fame.
VI was actually the inspiration
yeah.
for this game, the
wild.
art style. Yeah.
But then that
It
pop-up
also-
look looks so good.
Yeah.
I mean this is the same team behind Bravely Default.
Yep.
And there's also like I feel like Bravely Default was sort of a test case for this, especially on the 3DS and the way that the layers in those games worked.
Also had a great art style too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really similar to this too. Not as pixelated, but yeah,
all over this.
yeah. I'm stoked.
all over this.
And
I
I
would-
love the battle system.
Yeah, that's what I hear. The battle system is really good.
It's-
I would
see-
have loved to have played it, but my Switch was frozen last.
Well,
night.
you still have a chance. You
There it is again.
That's two. I got
Zach
two.
he
Still
couldn't whine
available.
about it
I got
all
two.
episode, but
Yeah, I
Stupid
highly
frozen Switch.
recommend
Knock it
it.
in.
A lot of turn-based battles can get slow and sluggish, but the break system that this game has you thinking about all of your moves all the time, which includes a lot of strategy. And it can be difficult, but when you learn your opponent's patterns, it becomes a lot easier. And I really like being on my toes rather than just like spamming A to kill enemies.
yeah.
Do you know if they ever like explained how long each character's storyline is?
I don't think they did, but I think they said that the
Like
whole game
Yeah.
has between 50 and 100 hours,
Right.
depending on how you want to play it.
a lot of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do, there's a ton of optional stuff. You don't have to do all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, it looks really cool. It plays even cooler than it looks, I think. And the stories, like
Yeah,
you were
big
saying,
man.
are
Yep.
great. And what I really like about the story too
Gulliver.
is it's not that's the butler actually of that mansion. I was playing as the thief in this gameplay. That's the
Who you gravitate towards, right?
thief. Yeah,
Therion.
like to steal.
Sticky fingers.
No, it's cool. Like when you play as, like, for instance, my the thief's character trait is that he can walk up to anybody at any time, just in the overworld, and steal objects or weapons from them, and it's
like a
awesome.
thief.
Yeah, just like a thief. It's really cool. The story itself has like a lot of adult, like mature themes and stuff to it, which I really
Yeah, Primrose
like a lot.
really surprised me when I first played, when the first demo came out a while ago. I just did not expect
I remember
that
you
dialogue.
talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very alarming. I'll leave it at that.
All right, this is a great spot for us to take our break as we lead into our second segment where we're going to be discussing Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle Donkey Kong Adventure. Dan Stapleton covered our review, so we're going to swap him in for Casey. Thank you, Casey, very much for
thanks,
joining
guys.
us. So we will see you guys in just a few minutes.
Bye.
It's agony to dream like this and wake up to reality. Fergus Reed, one of the old guard.
You're still breathing, you jammy bastard. Hey, you're tough as they come, you know. Jesus Christ.
Hey, doggy! Catch! Private Wyatt, good kid. See you on the flip side, Captain.
General Death's Head is nearer to us now than he's been in years. We eliminate the General. We cut the head off the Kraut war machine.
That's him, isn't it? That's Death's Head!
Help me make a choice. Is look to the one you would have me dissect.
Thought I'd seen it all, but I've never seen true cruelty until now.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Tak, panie doktorze.
W takim razie trafi do zakładu psychiatrycznego.
I think I see someone. Her name is Anya. She takes good care of me.
It's 1960. The USA, they surrendered 12 years ago when Nazi atom bombed their country.
On a train to Berlin.
Ich bin Obersturmbannführer Engel.
Sehr schöne arische Züge.
The Resistance Fighters, where are they?
BJ Blazkowicz.
Caroline, you're alive.
If you call shitting in a bag living, they think the war is over, that we are weak, don't have the guts to oppose them. But as always, they are wrong.
Set. Roth, according to official records, has been detained and sent off to a forced labor camp.
You said wrong.
I'm not sure yet. What do you know of Seth?
Your Dasha should. Source of the Nazi technology, I'm here to rescue you.
I hope you find what you seek, my friend. My name is Bombate.
William J. Blazkowicz. Be safe out there.
No one leaves my camp!
Max Haas!
Mr. Max.
Max doesn't like violence. He doesn't want to see anyone get hurt.
Das Yichud is an ancient, mystical society. We invent things, the technology, the development. Das Yichud is centuries ahead of anything you've ever seen or imagined.
Take us back to Berlin, Blazkowicz.
I think your old friend Frau Engel is leading the attack. Death's Head must have promoted her for her actions at the labor camp.
You know what you have here, Captain? This is the Eva's Hammer, the crown jewel of the Nazi U-boat fleet.
Get inside the compound, fast as you can.
Wipe Death's Head off the face of the earth. Death's Head. Should have killed that man long ago. Got you standing.
Captain, we are in position. The nuclear cannon is armed. Permission to fire?
You're clear.
And we're back for part 2 of Nintendo Voice Chat, joined by Dan Stapleton.
Hello.
Hey, great to have you here. Dan is IGN's reviews editor.
You make it sound so ominous.
I should really pronounce my title that way all the time. Reviews.
Hello,
editor.
Danny Staples.
Editor. Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I've been dying to get you on this show and to review a Nintendo game for us. Dan actually handled the Donkey Kong Adventure DLC for Mario Rabbids, and I'm excited to hear your thoughts about it. But before we get into that, you guys just checked out a little bit of Wolfenstein 2. That's the newest trailer that Nintendo put out a little while ago, actually. It's not the newest trailer, but it's the newest trailer that Nintendo put out for the game. So yes, we cannot talk about our actual review impressions just yet because the embargo, as of this live stream, has not yet lifted. It lifts 2 hours from now.
Oh,
I know. But I will, if you're watching
can you
this on
say
YouTube,
if you like it?
I can't.
That's embargoed?
I know, but we can talk about our impressions from PAX and all that goodness and E3. So we will. And we actually have some B-roll of Wolfenstein. So let's go ahead and throw it up there so we can show it off in action. This is our footage from PAX.
Spoilers.
I mean, is it though? Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
like
the
so
very
early.
beginning of the
Yeah.
game. Give me a break.
It's right in the beginning of the game. But yeah, so this is Wolfenstein 2 running on Switch. And it's exactly what you would expect to play on the PS4, the Xbox, or the PC with some, minor adjustments. Well, maybe not minor, but some pretty radical adjustments to like resolution and textures and all that stuff just to get it to run on Switch. But from what I played of it at E3 and at PAX, it feels nearly identical to how it plays on other consoles and PC as well.
Yeah, I mean, PS4 and Xbox One were 30 frames as well, so it's not it's not that dramatic. On PC, you can go as fast as you want or as fast as your system can handle. But if you're coming from PS4 or Xbox One, that's not that big a difference in performance.
Yeah, it's just that blur, and it's just like with Doom, which was, I thought it was a competent port, but they have to sacrifice some of the visual clarity, and like it dynamically adjusts the resolution too, right?
Right.
I'm assuming this game does that too.
Well, Panic Button handled the port for this, and they also did Doom. So a lot of what you see in Wolfenstein is probably very similar to how Doom works.
Yeah.
And so what I noticed from the E3 build as well off of Wolfenstein is that they took a lot of the updates that they've been adding to Doom, things like motion controls, like enhancements to how the resolution adjusts, and different lighting effects, particle effects, and they're all present in this build of Wolfenstein, or in the E3 build of Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
So I think that it's looking great. And honestly, if you've never played Wolfenstein before and you have a Nintendo Switch, this would be the perfect time to play it, because it's basically Inglourious Bastards, the video game, essentially.
It's a great game with some really memorable characters, and just kind of like it really plays up that glory kill, like that kind of the feel you get from taking somebody down and fighting heavy machinery, and like it's a really cool game. And like it is really impressive when you boot it up for the first time on the tiny screen. It looks really nice.
Yes.
You know, when you're seeing Doom as well, when you're seeing these games.
It is one of my favorite shooters of the last couple of years. I think.
Same.
So it just like between the story adding a lot of kind of like frankly emotional weight to a lot of the action, they do a really good job with that. And then just the pace of the gunplay, and the fact that you have to kind of skulk around, or you can skulk around and take out a bunch of enemies and kind of thin out the crowd before you go guns blazing. It lends itself to a variety of play styles, and it feels flexible.
Yeah, I think the gunplay is much improved over the first one.
It's got dual wielding this time.
Yeah, the dual wielding really helps out. I don't know. I put this as my number 2 game last year after Breath of the Wild.
Oh, wow.
I think it's a phenomenal game. Funny, smart, heartbreaking, really well written and well acted.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, sadly topical.
It is really impressive, like how easily it shifts between serious and comedic tone.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and there's things that this game does that I really love narratively, where it'll show you a cutscene, and the cutscene will end like in terms of what it's showing you up front. But you can stand and watch the characters in the cutscene interact beyond that and get more of the story, learn more about the characters, like if you want to, or you can just run off to the next objective. I think it's really smart storytelling.
Yeah, and I thought the balance between stealth and just kind of like guns blazing is really well done in this game too. Like there are a couple of scenarios where like I failed a couple of times, but I could tell that I could beat them by just going in guns blazing, but then did them stealthily and succeeded. Like I think that game does a nice job balancing it.
Yeah, it rewards you too.
Yep.
I really like too that there's like additional missions that you can acquire through just picking up Enigma codes, which you get when you kill Nazi captains, I guess. And
that's crazy that all the Nazi captains are carrying the coveted Enigma machine.
One of them.
You figure it'd be a little bit more secure than
that's
that.
historically accurate too. So
yeah, so it's a great game. It's actually our pick of the week this week on NVC. Comes out Friday, which again, I'm time traveling here, is today if you're watching on YouTube,
but
or
sometime
tomorrow
in the past if you're
if you're watching the stream. So definitely check it out if you've never played the game before. But Dan, you're here specifically to talk to us about Mario Rabbids Donkey Kong Adventure, and I'd love to hear what you think about it.
My review will be up actually later today as well.
Awesome.
we didn't get this one in advance really, and it is surprisingly longer than I expected it to be.
Really,
which is also true of when I reviewed Mario plus Rabbids in the first place. It's like, wow, there is a lot of game here.
Yeah,
I've got to pick up the pace. It is. It's not just more of the same, which I really like about it. It's built around Donkey Kong as a character. Like his abilities are so dramatically different from everybody else that they really kind of had to restructure how they design levels. He, instead of like everyone else, like if you move them on top of another one of your characters, he'll bounce off of them, and if you move them, most of them anyway, on top of an enemy character, you'll slide tackle them and move through them. Donkey Kong doesn't do that. He will pick up a character and let you throw them, like carry them around and throw them. So it increases their mobility, because if you do it before they move, then they can then move after landing, and also you can use enemies as a weapon against other enemies. You can also pick up certain blocks off the map and throw them, which I like a lot, because one of my issues with Mario plus Rabbids in general is that the effect, like flame effects and push effects and things like that on your weapons, are generally only like a 30% chance of happening. So you can't really plan around that. But with this, you actually can know, like, I'm going to throw this and I'm going to get that effect.
Right.
There's a limited number of those on the map, but you get that reliability, so you're able to reliably plan on your strategy around that.
So if you find a big like honey block, and you need to stick some enemies in one spot, make sure they don't move. You know that they're going to get stuck once you throw that block.
Right, you're not rolling the dice and 1 out of 3 times you get what you want.
And that was one of your biggest gripes, I think, with the original, right? Was that it was not as predictable as you would have wanted, I guess, or not predictable. Maybe that's not the right word.
Yeah, it's not. You can't predict what will happen because it is only 1 out of 3 times will you get that effect. It's great when it happens, but I can't count on it, so I can't build a strategy around it.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha.
So who are the new characters? It's
so the new characters are just Donkey Kong and Rabid Cranky.
Okay.
And the third
That's the old
character-
dude.
Yes. So the third character on your team is Rabid Peach, who is the same from the main game.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a downer that you're stuck with those 3 characters the entire time. I kind of wish they would let you switch out the other 2 at least, because things are built around Donkey Kong. Like there are specific Donkey Kong jump pads that only he can use, but the other 2, it feels like if I had swapped in Luigi there, that wouldn't make as big a difference. But and I would have liked to be able to combine different powers and things like that, like you can in the main game. But in this case, you do get pretty good with this combination of characters. Cranky.
So that takes away some of the character updating that was in the original, like leveling up and stuff.
You have all the leveling up,
but you no longer sub anybody in. It's like you just focus on the 3, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And they all have their own like primary weapons and sub weapons and all that stuff.
That works the same way.
Okay.
But with Cranky, he's got a shotgun, which is it damages a lot up front, and then it's a cone out in a direction that does progressively less damage. And he's got a grenade. And he also has I'm trying to remember what it is. So he's got the ability to put everyone around him to sleep. Like there's a pretty wide radius where he can put everyone to sleep for a turn. So just stun everybody for a turn. And I'm trying to remember what his other ability is. But actually, one of the coolest things that he can do is when he is jumping or being thrown, he fires his shotgun down at an area of effect around him. So he's just really good at spraying damage everywhere, which makes him pretty useful.
And he's the new character that you control in the overworld too, right?
Yeah. Well, so the thing that one of my gripes about the main game was that when you're running around in the overworld, Beepo is the character you're controlling, right? So it's especially when you're trying to navigate through things. I kept turning too late because Beepo is very small on the screen.
Everybody, I think, had that issue.
Yeah.
Right. So that they listened to that criticism. It certainly seems like. So now Cranky rides on top of Beepo like a little Segway scooter.
So it feels more like you're in control rather than following. Yeah.
Right. And you know when you're supposed to turn because especially when you're going away from the camera, you couldn't tell where you were exactly. So that's an annoying gripe. I'm glad they fixed. The other thing about Donkey Kong that I love is his main or one of his powers is to whip out his bongos and play a seductive siren song on the bongos, I guess, that makes everybody kind of dance over to it.
Donkey Konga.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And then you can use his other move, right?
Right. So he's got like a ground pound kind of thing with just area of effect around him, and he just like smacks the crap out of everybody. So you can draw everyone in a wide area close to you, and then just whack them away. It's a super powerful ability, and it just gives him the ability to walk out into the middle of a map and just pull everyone to him.
That's so cool.
He's like a walking vortex of destruction.
That's so awesome. But Peach plays pretty much identically to how she did before, right?
She doesn't do anything new.
Yeah.
And Donkey Kong also has a banana rang that it's kind of hard to figure out exactly how it's going to work. But if enemies are aligned within its tolerances, it will kind of chain from one to another.
Oh, okay.
So he's got lots of really powerful attacks.
Do the other characters appear in the story? Do we get a reunion between the old Donkey Kong and Mario?
No.
It's final revenge.
Mario. None of the other characters appear.
They're not in there.
Yeah. Okay. Except for like the very opening cutscene where. Well, I won't spoil the absurd, the ridiculous plot of this game. It's just like,
does it make sense at least? Or
no, I mean, none of this makes sense.
It better not.
Yeah,
you play the original, like no, this is a wackadoo fever dream, dude. It's bonkers.
Yeah, you can see up here right now. There's a mission where you're trying to get these washing machine parts from these collector enemies,
as one does.
Yeah. And that one, like they do have a good variety of mission objectives, so it doesn't get stale playing with the same crew over and over again. just you're never doing the same thing twice. It's only rarely do you get a kill everything mission that doesn't have some big twist to it. So they did a really good job with the level design.
Nice.
So how long is the whole DLC?
It took me about 6 hours going through and doing some of the puzzles here and there and doing some of the collecting here and there, which works very much the same way as it does in the first game or the main game.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
I keep almost referring to it as like a sequel because it is like a bit. It's different enough and there's a big enough chunk of it.
Cool.
That it feels like a actual new game in a lot of ways. Yeah, here's his bongos.
Nice.
And it's also got some challenge missions at the end after you go through its five chapters. Yeah.
Are they as mean as in the original game? Are they like get tough?
It does get tough. It doesn't. I don't think it's as tough as the original game. I was perfecting most of the missions on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that is just to be expected anytime you're coming back to a game. It's like, oh, I know how to play this.
Yeah.
But having to learn how to play as DK makes takes some time to get the hang of them.
That's cool. So you're liking it?
I do. I like it a lot.
What'd you give it?
I'm
Wait.
I'll tell you. I'm giving it an 8.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
Right on.
an 8.
Yeah.
8
Yeah.
for great. Awesome.
Nice.
I'm so happy that Ubisoft is, adding single player DLC. We had some DLC before, which was multiplayer based.
Yeah,
but
that was just a free add-on.
yeah, it was a free add-on. This I think is so cool. I love this series. I did not expect to like it as much as I do.
Yeah, I think it was like sort of an unexpected hit last year.
Totally.
We're all surprised by it.
Yeah, and it was shocking that A, it existed, and B, that it was really good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But that's so cool. Well, thank you, Dan, very much for slipping in here, giving us some of your thoughts on Mario Rabbids. And
pleasure.
thank you guys very much for joining us this week. I'm sorry we ran all out of time yet again. But we're going to do another one of those episodes where we just sort of, pick up the slack and talk about things that we'd missed for the past week or so. And, do a nice chunkier question block as well.
In the meantime, just buy Luminous and buy Inside.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Inside is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So is Luminous.
Absolutely.
Some say it's the best puzzle game of all.
Yep.
Ooh, we'll talk about that next week
It
as
isn't,
well.
but it's good.
Yes, we're a weekly show on IGN.com, and you can catch us every Thursday live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, or you can catch us on YouTube the following day, around 2 o'clock, 2:30, something like that. And we're also available on all of your favorite podcast listening services as well. So thank you both, or all three of you.
Oh, wow.
Very much.
Rude.
Not you, Zach.
Dan and Per, not you, Zach. No, just kidding.
Kick rocks.
And thank you guys very much, and we'll see you next week.
Later.
So, yep.